Welcome, guys, here to Stay Healthy Knoxville podcast. I'm excited for this episode to have Dr. Joseph Procopio on as our guest. Dr. Joseph, he is a doctor of physical therapy. He received his undergraduate degree from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and then went on to receive his doctorate in physical therapy at Regis University in Denver. And he is one of our therapists here at Simply Physio. And we're excited to learn from him today some of his things that make him tick, things that brought him into the field of physical therapy, understand some of the values and how he really organizes a patient's care plan. So, welcome to the show, Dr. Joe, Dr.
Oh,
Joseph.
thanks, John Mark.
Yeah, man. Excited to have you and just to hear more of your story too, and share that with our listeners. So
Of
I love
course.
to start. I love to start off on is take us back as far as before you became a therapist. But what really drew you to the field? Was there a certain situation or circumstance or story that really initiated that desire to go towards physical therapy as a profession?
Yeah, for sure. When I was a sophomore in undergrad, then I developed like pretty debilitating back pain. For the listeners that don't know what like lumbar radiculopathy is basically you have discs in your spine that sometimes get irritated, and sometimes those irritate the nerves that run down your legs. And I had really bad nerve pain for about like year and a half, 2 years, that I was trying to manage through chiropractors, through PTs, and some were good, some were really bad, some were very unfocused, some were not very confident in their treatment plans, some didn't ask the right questions to figure out what I was doing in my free time, what I was doing in my training, that was actually creating or making my problem worse. And so through that process, I finally got some good PTs and some good chiropractors to help me fix my problems, and get me back to playing high level sports like volleyball and basketball and lifting, heavy weights, which I love. It just gives me so much joy. And when I can't do that, then I don't feel like myself. So
Yeah.
they got me back to that.
So
And through that, sorry,
yeah,
through
go
that,
ahead.
then I just like resolved myself. I was like, hey, right now, or I was in material science engineering. I'm like, I think I could be doing something more important. So I switched onto the PT track, and I was like, when I become a PT, I'm going to be someone that can help people solve their problems a lot quicker and be more confident, and instill more confidence in them that problems are temporary. And usually PTs, usually conservative management has good options. So
Yep. So yeah. So originally you were an engineering major, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
material
So
science engineering.
okay. So I see some similarities between the two. As I mean, there obviously is some differences, but overall, the human body is a mechanism that functions based on force and levers and angles. Did that help that transition, like for you a little bit? Of, I mean, obviously they're very different though too. What was, with your own experience, were there any other things that made you really say, no, this is going to be a better fit for me?
Yeah, I think having the personal relationship with patients, I think I recognized pretty early on that that was valuable to me, that making an impact on somebody that's right in front of me, that's somebody that needs help, needs time, care, and attention, that is just intrinsically valuable to me. It makes me feel good when I could help people. Um, but then also like I do miss some of the more analytical stuff in engineering. PT, I thought was very analytical, but not nearly as analytical compared to engineering. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I miss that. So when do have a patient that has like a very unique like biomechanical issue,
Hmm.
um, and they have trouble doing certain things in their sport performance or certain stuff in their day-to-day work tasks, and I could problem solve that with them. Um, like say if they do like manual labor, then I've helped some people that was doing work conditioning that they were doing things a little bit wrong. And when you do that 200, 300 times, in a couple hours, then that really adds up. And
Yeah.
so if I'm able to speak into that, help problem solve with them, um, to do a task a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently, a little easier on a certain joint, then it gives me a little bit of that analytical side that I miss.
Biomechanist.
Yeah, yep. I love my biomechanics course.
Yeah.
Not just because it was taught by an amazing professor, but because it's just intrinsically interesting to me. I
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
I think some of the most fun things about physical therapy is it is a blend of science and art, um, but it
For sure.
also can be the most frustrating part too.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? When you're dealing with the human body and there's more to it than just forces and levers and strain and stress, because you're dealing with an individual with emotions and feelings and past experience, layers onto that a level of complexity.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's most of the job. It's just I feel like at least for me, then the analytical side is pretty simple. Like solving the biomechanical or um, like whatever inflammatory state that a patient is in, getting them out of that. I think
Yeah,
making sure that people have their motivations being met or have their motivations being like played to, and then understanding like what makes them tick, then like that's really the beauty of like keeping a patient in the clinic, keeping them happy, making sure that they follow through on their plan of care and not have them dip out once when they get a little bit of confidence back, but then they're struggling in 2 weeks at home when they have their first flare up. Like all of that, then I think like that's the art side of it that I
yeah,
find I find really really nice to engage with.
yeah. And it's cool having obviously your own personal um, injury, a rather serious one, if you will. Like I believe, correct me
Mhm.
if I'm wrong, was with your own injury, wasn't it at some point like surgery was discussed
Yeah.
on some level? You,
Yeah, I
you
was thinking of surgery. I was thinking of surgery. Well, I don't know about thinking of surgery, but getting pushed towards surgery a couple times,
yeah,
by
by,
different PTs, by a ortho surgeon back home, or home is Northern Illinois for me.
yeah,
But I just stuck to my guns. I was like, no way, this problem is that severe that I need surgery, and like I trust that my body can heal. And I was young, I was 20 years old, and eventually it did heal with the right type of care.
yeah. Do you having that home your own personal experience with that? I'm interested in how that maybe influenced you as a therapist in treating patients.
Yeah, I mean, it influenced me in a huge way. Like understanding that the modern American medical system is very flawed, that there are certain incentives to push people towards surgery, or just to give in to people's desire to have quick solutions. And I'm at fault with that too. Like I love my quick solutions.
Yeah,
But understanding in the long term that generally conservative management outperforms any type of non-conservative management. So like whether that be surgery, injections, um, ablations, like all of those things, they don't really address the root issue of what's going
hmm,
on. And that's part of the beauty of physical therapy as well, is that like we get down to the nitty-gritty parts of your life, of your day-to-day routine that really only a physical therapist can get down to, because we can spend extended time with patients to figure out those small things that are impacting their injury, that are actually causing their injury.
yeah. Was there any kind of key moment in your care that was kind of the turning point, or would you say it was a little bit more gradual, slowly over time?
It was mainly when my PT and chiropractor told me that like I needed to remove all types of lifting for like a significant amount of time. Like I tried to like back down my lifting because I was asymptomatic during my lifts and for like a couple hours after.
Yeah,
And so a lot of my PTs and chiropractors were like, "Oh, if it makes you feel good, then you could keep doing it." And then I finally got someone to record my squat, record my deadlift, and they looked at the left side of my lower back and they were like, "Yeah, you are
it's doing
rotating at the
good.
bottom of your lift. you were hyperextending and then going into flexion. So my back was, yeah, it wasn't doing the right things to be stable.
Yeah.
And my spine was very unstable at the bottom of my lifts. Um, and all it took was somebody just to get a recording of it, to go the
Mm.
extra mile and be like, hey, like you seem to know what you're doing as an athlete, but I didn't really.
Yeah.
I had a lot more confidence in what I thought I was doing than what I was actually doing.
Yeah.
And that's all it took.
Yeah.
And after a period of like 6 months, my symptoms got less and less and less, and I finally got those nerves to calm down.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I think with a lot of people, it's sometimes conditions can feel very complicated. Um, and sometimes we have a way of maybe overcomplicating. Sometimes they can be very complicated, but oftentimes we find a way to make them more complicated than what they need to be. And it's like you said, sometimes it's just kind of going that extra mile of somebody kind of pushing in. It's like, hey, let's consider this. Let's not overlook this piece. So
Yeah, that's very true. I think a lot of people then they they kind of go over the lowest hanging fruit and they don't do the easy stuff well. And I mean, that's why I try to get my patients to do like kind of on day one is like, what are you doing that is hurting you that is super easy to figure out? And like if you're reading in a certain position or if you walk for like an hour and it's making your knee hurt, then I'm like, maybe we should pull down the walking just for a little bit, just for a little
yeah.
bit. Um, and then figure out, oh, what aren't you doing that you should be doing? Or somebody's sitting on the couch for long periods of time with their knees bent and then they have trouble straightening out their knee. I'm like, maybe we need to work on that.
Yeah. Um, well, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Dr. Joseph. With a little shift here, I'd love for you to consider kind of your beginning your career, kind of those first few months or even with the first year. Is there anything that you maybe believed as a very young clinician that you think differently about now, having gained some years of experience?
Hmm. I mean, surgeons might not want me to say this, but surgical protocols. I think I was taught very much follow surgeon's protocols as a new grad. Um, and then now, like, I recognize, like, oh, if somebody's behind in a certain area, then that's okay. Like, you just got to work with them. You just got to manage their pain levels, make sure that they're working hard at home and that they're staying on task. Yeah, I think appreciating like the individual nuance of a patient, whether they're surgical or non-surgical, I think that's something that I appreciate more and more is that everyone is truly unique
Yeah.
and has different motivations, and they have a different backstory. And like going into that, being curious, I think everyone appreciates like curiosity. I think a lot of PTs get a little nervous when their curiosity is met with like either anxiety or indifference. But I recognize the more that you push into that and then maybe give something of yourself, maybe give a personal story, something hard that's going on. Or maybe if someone's dealing with like loneliness or the boredom of life, um, then like sharing those times when you're lonely or bored. And like just being able to form that bridge that gets somebody past their own anxieties, their own fears to show a little bit of part of themselves. Because
Yeah.
I think in today's modern culture, like that's something that a lot of people are scared of because we're so disconnected. Um, but it just takes a little bit of courage and a little bit of persistence to make a stronger connection.
Yeah. Well, was there a patient maybe early in your career that really changed you or stuck with you emotionally because of maybe the impact you had on them or they had on you?
Yeah, I would say a couple. There's a, are you familiar with a functional neurological disorder? Um,
A certain type?
FN, FND.
Okay, you can explain it to our listeners here.
So basically, it's a learned response in somebody's brain to physically like shut down the nerves in their body. And so like some people can appear as paralyzed, and it's not just in their head. It's kind of like a temporary paralysis. And I worked with this one lady. She came in a wheelchair, and we started off doing just electrical stimulation for her legs. And by the end of her care, like 4 months later, then she was running in the parking lot
Oh
and
wow.
playing catching games. And a lot of it had to do with like just continual encouragement, getting her out of her head, and out of the trauma that she's developed. So, uh, another little backstory on FND is that like psychological trauma is very much intertwined with that diagnosis. A lot of FND patients have significant amount of abuse, and so you have to be very sensitive with the things that you ask them to do, the ways that you want to push them, um, and if you're not sensitive, then they can regress, and they can regress very quickly.
Hmm.
And then those patients typically tend to leave, and then that just confirms the bias in their head that PT isn't for me, that doctors can't help, that this is something that's going to plague me forever. And so,
Yeah.
um, I've seen just a handful of those patients in the past, when I worked up in Oak Ridge, um, but those ones are really valuable to work with because it stresses your ability to be patient and to think creatively, and to be overly caring and attentive, because that's what that person needs, at the time.
Yeah. Um, yeah, was that a certain diagnosis that was made before you're starting the care, or because that's not a common health. I mean, that's not something I'm aware of as a physical therapist or seen before. So it's not something real common.
It, it was, you probably heard it under a different diagnosis code.
Okay.
I forget I forget the code or the name that they used to put it under, but now it's called FND. And
Okay.
I could look it up later. I don't remember they weren't referred for FND. I think they referred for leg weakness, for like
Okay.
bilateral leg weakness. Because she had no stroke, she had no like inciting event. It just developed over time. And she was young.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she was in her like I'd say like mid 30s.
Hmm. So it sounds like that was something that you um, picked up on and connected the dots there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was able to speak with her neurologist, and her neurologist didn't get back for a time, and then they did, um, but we didn't have very many extensive conversations about it. It was more so just
Yeah.
like, yeah, treat the patient how you think she should be
Want to.
treated,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I
especially
mean,
if she's
it's
getting better. And like that's all the neurologist cared about was like, is
yeah.
she getting better?
Yeah. I'm sure the patients to some extent too, right? And us as well. We want people to get better. It's it's nice when we know why and how they got better, but sometimes sometimes people just get better. Um, well, yeah. Any other stories you like to share? Kind of success stories, or a patient kind of journey that really overcome something substantial.
Hmm. There's this patient that I had again up in Oak Ridge where I think I had her for three different injuries over like a period of like a year and a half. Like she was pretty much one of my first patients ever as like a paid clinician, as somebody that's actually working a real job. And then she was one of my last patients there as well. And
Okay.
we did 3 episodes of care, and like I think our relationship got better with each episode of care. Like it got
Yeah.
deeper, more full. Like she was sharing more personal things, I was sharing more personal things, um, and we were just like having a great time and solving her problems. I think she started off getting treated for her hip and low back, and then she had a shoulder thing, and then she finished with some like pretty bad like plantar fasciosis.
Okay.
That she'd been developing after like a series of trips that she went on, where she overextended herself, and then she rested, got off her feet, and then overextended herself again. Um, and so through that period of time, like she'd always been broaching the concept of her weight. And that's something that's like very sensitive for a lot of people, and a lot of medical providers don't talk about it very well. And they don't give the time and attention for the patient to lead the conversation. Um, and that's something where I think I was very proud of myself as an early clinician and somebody that's passionate about like diet, and overall holistic care of patients, that I was able to take a step back and always allow her to lead that conversation. And by the end, then we were able to have like very good and productive conversations about how to manage her diet,
Yeah.
um, that she'd been struggling with for about like 3 months.
Mm.
And she was making progress, and then she was relapsing and going towards foods that she had really bad cravings for. And then so I was just able to give her some coaching on that and point her towards some foods that are like, hey, if you're craving very salty foods, then here are some healthy salty options.
Yeah.
And then if you're craving very fatty foods, here are some maybe some fatty options, um, that are good fats, like avocados, like olive oil, and you could put that in your food and add that, and obviously under the scope of my practice because I can't make too many very specific recommendations, but just these small things here and there that were able to curb her like really bad periods of like hunger pains, and cravings, and get her a little bit more successful in her diet, as well as just
Yeah.
giving her like general support in that time because dieting is terrible. Dieting sucks. I had a bodybuilding competition two years ago that I was prepping for, and I was dieting super hard for 12 weeks, and then the last 8 weeks was pretty much like just systematic starvation. Like it just dwindling down the calories, keeping proteins high until at the end, then you're basically eating chicken and some broccoli and maybe a little half cup of fruit as a as a treat. And so like I was able to relate to on that level, where like you're just taste change. Like you
Yeah.
hear or you smell like bread cooking or like bread getting toasted, and you're like, wow, that it smells amazing, and you want to go eat like a whole loaf of bread. And like most people, they just don't understand those cravings. But until you're in that state where like you're combating all the desires that you used to have with your eating habits with something that's new, then really the only time that you're going to be able to relate to somebody like that is
Yeah.
where you're super, super, super hungry
Um,
for an extended period of time.
sure. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing, Dr. Joseph. I think just as our conversation has gone through this interview, it's interesting just how kind of the scope that of examples that you've even brought up, and I think that's a testament to your treatment style in that whether it be your your initial kind of biomechanist type of upbringing, and the kind of engineer mind to something that's like diet, or even just that connection, that relational kind of piece with people, of recognizing that there's a lot that goes into each individual case. And as we were talking about recording this podcast, you were talking about just how you enjoy treating a wide scope of patients, from a high level athlete, because from some of your background as being an athlete, to somebody who's not in that category, and that you're able to really adjust your thinking and your strategy and your plan to that individual. And I think that's something that takes um, a lot of maturity to be able to do well. That your patients really value from you. Um, but um, but yeah, and what I mean, one term that is probably not well known in just the general public, but a term that's thrown around in kind of the medical community is a biopsychosocial approach, right? And so just for our listeners, so that's it's really three terms, three words into one. So the biology, the psychology, and the social impact. But would you say that's kind of how you view a lot of your treatment, as some kind of hodgepodge of that appreciation?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's different clever ways of saying it. There's like
Yeah.
holistic models,
Yeah.
like appreciating the mind, body, and spirit. Like yeah, you can say it a bunch of different ways. But
Yeah.
if you're not like looking into the social things, maybe some of the mental health things that are going on with your patients as a physical therapist, like that's why they made the decision, or that's partially why they made the decision to convert to a doctor of physical therapy and increase the degree requirements, is because there are a lot of technical things, but then also a lot of personal things that you need to be managing as a good physical therapist.
Yeah.
Because it's not just all about that knee pain. There's a reason why somebody won't do the things that they know are good for them. Because a lot of patients know what's good for them. They're not dumb. They They just have complicated lives and complicated motivations, as
Yeah.
well as complicated backstories. And so you need to understand that biopsychosocial model. You need to understand that you're treating a whole person, that
Hmm.
you're treating a real person that's in front of you. You're not treating a diagnosis, um, and you have to pay attention to those individual needs.
Yeah. Well, this kind of segues well into the next segment I like to ask. And let's consider somebody's listening to this podcast who is wanting to come in and potentially work with a therapist or work with you. And that first appointment, what we call evaluation, patients can bring in a lot of different emotions, a lot of different expectations. Maybe they've had PT before, maybe they're unsure if it's going to help, maybe they're a little bit doubtful, maybe they're hopeful, but there's a lot of kind of potential angst or uncertainty to like what it's going to be like. So I'd love for
Mm.
you to take our listeners through like how you approach an evaluation in consideration of that with our patients.
Mm. That's a good question. I feel like just as a broad like purpose for my evaluations, I want to
Yep.
understand what's going wrong in their life. So what are they doing that's hurting them? What are they not doing that can help them or that would be helping them? So things that you need to be taking away and things that you need to be asking patients to do on a regular basis. So that's usually a home exercise program. And if you have a starting foundation with that, is removing irritants and giving some simple exercises, some simple stretches that will help the patient, that's good. And then moving away from the technical, just understanding who they are, understanding how you're going to relate to them, trying to build rapport, just trying to cut it up, have some good conversations, see if they're more a family oriented person. They want to talk about travel, they want to talk about the books that they read, see what they like to talk about because
Um,
that's a big part of PT is like exercising isn't the most fun for a lot of people, and so you got to find
and
things to do
connecting.
that distracts you from it
Yeah.
and keeps you happy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think those are the two main things.
Yeah. What are you hoping that a patient leaves with? Kind of, when they're finished with that first evaluation.
Yeah. I think part of it also is breaking down a little bit of the barriers. I think some people have a little bit more of a mask that they put up, kind of like a persona. And so seeing if my patient is comfortable leaving that mask up, then that's okay. Like we could be a little bit more false in our interactions, be a little bit more superficial if that's what they're comfortable with. But I try to peel that mask back a little bit and try to see the real person underneath,
Yeah.
as well as give them a real look at myself, and just try to match energies. I know that that's like a Gen Z term, but I think it's very good.
I don't think so.
It's like whatever energy the patient comes in with, whether they're sad, they're brooding, they're very formal. They think that this is a business interaction, and they just want their problem solved. Then that's okay.
Yeah.
If they want to cut it up, if they want to talk about family, if they have a ton of important things that they need to get off their mind before they start talking about their symptoms, then I just need to shut my
Me
mouth
too.
and I need to listen for about
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and then we could start talking about things that can help them get better.
Yeah.
But just matching the energy of the patient is huge.
Yeah. I think that's a
And
great.
then, sorry, you said that was a little bit off of your original question. Your
Go
original
ahead.
question was, what can they leave with? I would say
Yeah. What
like
if it?
an understanding of who I am and ways that I could connect with them, and then also a good confidence that I can help them solve their problem because
Yeah.
I'm not going to solve their problem. I'm just guiding them towards that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we want with every patient is um, that they've in some way they've learned something on that evaluation and that we put together a path forward for them, right? And
Hmm.
obviously, with each patient, that's going to be very different. Like you said, matching that energy. I love kind of that type of term or kind of idea, if you will, right? Of recognizing that every patient's different and every patient's needs different. Needs are different, and that we want to be able to help the most people, knowing that their differences will impact how we treat them, right? And that we don't want to force them into just a you have to conform to my plan exactly. but I can adjust, as far as how we commence this plan, so that way it fits with who you are, is what I'm hearing from you.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was getting a little feedback with the mic
That's
for the
okay.
last little bit. Um,
Okay. Well, this is always good to agree. Just, yeah, I like when people
you'd be
just
like,
agree.
yes, very good.
That was a very insightful. You just nailed it.
That, that's generally how I treat my bosses all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just like, yes, of course, whatever you say. Please don't fire me.
um, well, if we shift just a little bit as we start kind of wrapping up this episode, is there anything that you would want people to know about you, maybe kind of outside of here, or, things that you enjoy doing, or beyond being a physical therapist, that
Oh,
people
JM, you know
typically?
that list is too long. That list is too long. I yeah, I love playing soccer
Yeah.
and volleyball and tennis. I picked up dancing recently, so I do a lot of Latin dancing. Um, yeah, I like to write poetry in the evenings just to calm down. I'm not an avid reader anymore just because I have a lot of active hobbies and passions. But I do like to read, largely like fantasy adventure. So if you've heard of like Brandon Sanderson, he's one of my favorite authors, or James Islington.
Okay.
He's writing the Hierarchy trilogy. I'm writing that. Very nerdy, super long books. But that's my jam if I have time to read.
And then the few last questions. So if a patient was listening to this and maybe they're a little bit on the fence of like, I know what I'm doing. I probably need some help, but I'm just not quite sure if I should get started. What would you, or maybe a little nervous or apprehensive about, making that step forward? What would you say to them?
I mean, are you currently solving your problems? Like, is your problem getting better? Um, if you can't do it, then you're going to need to outsource some help. So
Yeah.
we're generally the best source of help. Like American Medical Association, PT is generally a first line treatment for a lot of different injuries, a lot of different problems. And so there's a reason why doctors are abiding by the PT first movement, and because it's generally low cost. It doesn't take up much of your time. Like we'll take up 4 to 6 weeks. If we're not helping you within 4 to 6 weeks, then generally we'll be like, okay, we got to try something else.
Yeah.
And so all you can do is try.
Yeah.
All you can do is try. And if we don't help you, then we'll try to find somebody that can.
Yeah. I think I was kind of reminded of a phrase. It takes strength to recognize a weakness, right? And sometimes the strongest people can say, admit is like, man, I'm gonna need some help with this. Like you said, if it's not getting better, and what you're doing isn't helping, then you probably need to pull in some sort of support system, some expert that deals with what you're dealing with, to give you some guidance, some support, some help to help you get to the place where you want to go.
Okay.
Um, so, um, so I like to end with three questions. One is, if you, so the name of this podcast is Stay Healthy Knoxville. So if you had one tip recommendation for people to stay healthy, what would it be?
Oh, easy one. Go for a
Okay,
walk.
go for a
Go
walk.
for a walk. Go for a
Okay,
nice morning walk.
perfect.
Yep.
Now I know you haven't been in Knoxville. You didn't grow up in Knoxville, so you haven't been here long. But you get out and about and you like to explore. So these last ones are just helping to people to connect with our surroundings. So first of all, what's the favorite restaurant that you have? Local restaurant?
Oh, that's a bad one. I don't go out and eat much. I've heard good things about Amelia's. So I'm
Okay.
Italian Irish.
Okay.
And I haven't been there, but I've heard very good things about Amelia's, and I plan to go there soon. Um, local one. I mean, it's not local. I also worked at Culver's growing up. So
Okay.
I'm always gonna plug Culver's. It's the best. They have the best ice cream. They have the best frozen custard.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's
I went to
good.
Tennessee Tap House. I went to Tennessee Tap House with my family, and they have some good live music there.
Okay.
It was good food too. Yeah,
Nice.
check
All
that
right.
place out.
So Next question is, what's one of your favorite spots to visit around Knoxville if you just, you have some free time and want to get outside?
If you're over in Farragut, like the west end of town, then the Cove is really nice. Really
Yep.
pretty park, great. They have some volleyball courts there. They have a nice little playground for the kids. Um, yeah, they have a huge walking path that you could walk around near the water. It's really pretty. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one is, this is something that you haven't done, maybe kind of like a bucket list item, somewhat local, doesn't have to be right here in Knoxville. It could be Greater East Tennessee, some sort of event or place that you want to go that you haven't been to yet.
Oh, last year I was supposed to go to Bonnaroo with one of my
Okay.
buddies, and we were scheduled to go for the last day, the Hozier Day. He's one of my favorite artists, and it got rained out. I think it got rained out
Yeah.
after like a day and a half,
Yeah. They cancel
and
the thing. Yeah.
there's just crazy floods in Middle Tennessee. So
Yeah.
the I don't know when they're having it this year, but I might check that out this summer. That would be
Yeah. It's
super fun
probably,
to go
it
to.
might be coming up soon. You better
Yeah,
check it
and
out soon. It's
yeah, the
usually up in
tickets are
summer.
crazy. The tickets
Yeah.
are crazy expensive too. So, but I want to go to some more outdoor music.
Yeah.
That's a more general answer.
Yeah. There's some great spots. I mean, I know, I can't remember. Does Marcus Square still do? They're kind
Yeah,
of music. Yeah. Okay.
they set
I know
up a
they have for a
stage.
long
Yeah,
time. Yeah, they do
yeah,
that. There's a lot of opportunities for, just, I know, Farragut does, has a few times over, in the park, Founders Park, and spots around town. I think Imes will do some music, some fun music outdoors and things
yeah.
like that. So awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, Dr. Joseph. I appreciate you giving us a glimpse into kind of your backstory, what makes you tick, how you, work with patients so patients have a better appreciation of what it'd be like working with you. If you're watching this and, you really have connected with this podcast with Dr. Joseph, feel free to visit our website, simplypt.com. You can request an appointment and you could request to get on Dr. Joseph's schedule for an evaluation. So, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate our community and stay healthy, Knoxville.
All right, stay healthy.
All right. See ya.